Shajngai piher jingmut shapi kaper jing suk jing san hapingala she Borbala lake kinam one pie Borbala lake kinam one pie
Good morning, listeners. This is Akashwani Shillong. Today, we are celebrating National Education Day 2024. So on this occasion, Akashwani Shillong brings you a discussion on how education can empower people, foster personal growth, and drive societal development. The participants in this discussion are Shri Swapnil Tembe IAS, Director of School Education and Literacy and Additional Secretary to the Government of Meghalaya and Special Project Director SSA, and Shri Mark Laitflang, Director and Founder of Avenues. The moderator of the discussion is Shri Rahul Chatterjee.
Hello and welcome to Akashwani Shillong. National Education Day is observed every year on the 11th of November, coinciding with the birth anniversary of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, the first Minister of Education of independent India. Education is the only pursuit that has the single-handed power to change lives of individuals and as an extension of the society at large. And I must emphasize, it must be quality education, not just any education. The observance of the day highlights how education can empower people, foster personal growth, and drive societal development. He was a firm advocate for the right to education and worked for free and compulsory education for children up to the age of 14. And it was his initiative that laid the foundation for the Right to Education Act of 2009, ensuring access to education for every child in the 6 to 14-year-old. While the role that education plays may remain constant through time, how it is implemented and what is taught keeps changing with the requirements of society. Thus, in the ever-changing scenario, there are challenges, lacunae, and success stories. To discuss these and more, we have in our studio none other than Shri Swapnil Tembe IAS, Director of School Education and Literacy, Additional Secretary to Govt of Meghalaya, and Special Project Director SSA, to bring the official and government viewpoint. And we have also Shri Mark Laitflang, founder of Avenues. His past engagements include a founding curatorship for the Global Shapers community with the World Economic Forum, as well as co-chairmanship for the Adult Literacy Vertical of the India at 75 Foundation. He has represented India internationally on a number of occasions. Locally, Mark has a huge experience in training young tribal boys and girls for his pioneering work in life coaching and employability, interventions for tribal youth. A regional panel of peers and leaders felicitated him with the first ever Northeast Young Heroes Award for Education in 2020, and in recognition of his contributions to youth empowerment and leadership, Mark was also felicitated with the inaugural edition of Asia One's Asian Youth Empowerment Leader Award 2021 at the 15th Asia Middle East Africa Business and Social Forum Summit held in Dubai in 2021. A very warm welcome to both of you to our studios. Let me start with you, Mr. Tembe. While on the one hand, there are regular changes in how education is imparted and what is taught, the implementation of NEP 2020 has brought about a sea change in the way education is to be imparted, both at the structural level and at the classroom level. These changes have obviously brought in stresses and demands on the existing infrastructure insofar as both manpower requirements are concerned and physical infrastructure is concerned. And then there is the urban-rural divide. How is the government viewing the challenges and what measures are being put in place to meet the requirements?
So NEP, there are many components, and the first thing I think we need to understand and appreciate is that it will not be done in like 1 year or 2 years. The document itself has set a big roadmap that by 2030 you have to achieve this. By 2040 there's even talk about that, and in fact now India is talking about 2047 vision document. So basically it is aligning with that vision. So we have to see that these are gigantic steps which has to be taken. As you said, structural changes. So structural changes are not so sudden. There are many things. So the good part is that many things are being rolled out. So for example, I want to talk about pre-primary. Now, this pre-primary has always been overlap between social welfare department because they also have an institution called Anganwadi, where the students of the same 3 to 6 are supposed to go there. Now, recently, Education Department, Government of India, and in fact, Government of Meghalaya also, we have notified that the right age for class 1 is 6 plus. So 3 to 6, they have to be pre-primary. Now, there are two options generally. Some of them are in pre-primary in our schools. So that was started recently. But then currently, there is no sanctioned post of, for example, a pre-primary teacher. So there are 710 contractual pre-primary teachers which are there. So that's just a start. But that number is not sufficient. So as we know that in a small state of Meghalaya, we have 9,000 elementary schools. So staggering number, which we have to rationalize. So that's an entirely different topic. Which again, NEP talks about rationalization as well. So I'll come to that. But pre-primary, let's say 8,000, 9,000 schools are there. And we have roughly what we are supporting from here is like 700 schools. So you can see the gap. So the first thing we need to address is that we have sufficient pre-primary teachers as a part of NEP, because that NEP puts a lot of focus on pre-primary because they club it with class 1 and 2. And the first level of that education is these 3 years of pre-primary and plus 2 years of grade 1, grade 2. So that is something of a big challenge. And as I said, we are exploring the possibilities of how we can do it. It's good to see that some of the aided schools, some of the private schools, they have already employed from their side these pre-primary teachers which are there. Again, challenge comes now. Of course, NEP talks about pre-primary, but then the NCTE has notified long back that DLED in nursery education is required. Now, I can count on my fingers the number of people who have that in Meghalaya.
True.
So if we go as per that, it's very difficult. So now to find the right resources, it's a challenge. So although we are open and we want to implement, but the changes will come slow. To get the right resource persons, to get the right teachers, will take a long time.
Also, we do not have the facility to train the teachers, even if there are takers to get trained.
Right. So that again, because diets, which are the District Institute of Educational Training, they are under DERT, and we have only 7 diets in our state, and their capacity is also limited. Since you talk about capacity of training, NEP says 50 hours of CPD, TPD should be there. So 50 hours per teacher.
That's right.
We have 55,000 teachers in our state. So how are we planning that? Because when I last checked, maybe we are training 500 or 1,000 teachers only. So there are 54 more thousand teachers. And 50 hours every year means at least 1 week more than that. So the already which are there in elementary and secondary, it's a challenge to train them. And now bringing in the pre-primary. So that itself adds to the challenge. So
is the government really planning to open more institutes to train teachers? Because unless we have trained teachers, we are going to come up in the same situation.
Right. So one good thing is that all the diets which are there, they will be upgraded into centers of excellence, COE. So what's happening is that Government of India is supporting this, and we are starting with the Diet Sohra. So basically that means additional infrastructure and additional resources. Now currently one of the major issues in diet itself is that in the present capacity only, I think there are 30-40% vacancies are there. So the first step is that we have recently, I think interviews are ongoing, and hopefully in 1 month they all will be in place. So then diet will be to its full capacity. But even then it's not what we really require. So we need to do a lot of MOUs with institutions which are premier institutions for teacher training. So recently DRT has signed a MOU with the Reach to Teach Foundation. Then they have Azim Premji Foundation is also working with MBOS, and we are also in touch with one organization called CRISP. So they are also coming up with plan that how do we cater to. So 50 hours of TPD, if we cannot do physically, which we cannot, so we'll have to break it into maybe let's say 20 hours of online courses and 30 hours of physical. I know it's not the best, because the best is only physical when retention is more and we understand their issues more, but constrained we have to maybe start with that, because currently I think it's 0 hours like more for most teachers. So we need to change that. Yeah, so this is the first challenge. There are many. If time allows, I can go on. Otherwise,
I know. It's a huge problem. I mean, it has accumulated over the years, and it's not yesterday's problem. It has since statehood, this problem has accumulated. I have personal insight into these problems because I've been traveling as part of a commission, education commission, and I get to see it firsthand. So clearly, this is an accumulated problem. I know we cannot expect solutions overnight, but unless there is action on the ground, we are never going to see any solutions. But I want to really bring focus again again to another very serious area regarding education in Meghalaya, the dropout rate. We have the dubious distinction of having the highest dropout rate in the country. I'm sure there has been some findings, some study. What are the findings of the Directorate of School Education and Literacy on this aspect, and what might be the possible solutions?
So dropout, we have to first understand there are two levels, elementary and secondary. So elementary, we have a net enrollment ratio of 100 and our gross enrollment ratio is like 150, 160. That means that more number of students than what is expected are there in the elementary. One of the reasons is that the 2011 census which was done, the figures were not like to the mark, and actually there were more number of people. And then since after that, due to COVID, 2021 census could not be held even till now. So that brings a problem of data, right? But then we are happy that our NER is 100 and GR. So there are more schools. As I said, under RTE, they were established under Samagra Shiksha, new school. So we have sufficient number of schools when it comes to elementary. But when it comes to secondary, so roughly we have all types of school included. We have 1,000 secondary schools. So you see the jump from 9,000 to 1,000. And then when it comes to higher secondary, it's just 420 something. So you can see again the jump. That is one of the primary reasons. But of course, there are other reasons. Now, RTE says within 1 kilometer LP school, within 2 kilometer UP school. So that has been done and established. So literally in all 7,000 approximate villages of Meghalaya, we have elementary education, like at least LP. There is no problem in them going to the school. But when it comes to UP, maybe they have to go to the next village or to the cluster. But when it comes to the secondary or higher secondary, maybe the nearest option for most in rural areas is that they have to go to the block headquarter or sometimes even into district headquarter. So now this is a challenge in Meghalaya because there is no system of public transport also. So these two are the main financial constraints, of course, because RTE entitles free education up to class 8. But beyond that, because there's expenditure has to be incurred. So that is one of the main reasons. But when we did a survey, a very interesting thing also came out. The third most important reason of dropout is that student felt disinterested, not enjoying what's happening in the school. And we cannot link it with something, what is this useful for? Maybe they want something which can be linked like a vocational skill, more like a skill training they want. Is it linked to some kind of entrepreneurship? Is it linked to some kind of employment? They are not seeing that connection. So these are the three main reasons of dropout. Now, what is being done is that those who are already out of the system. So one way is to mainstream, it's called, bringing them back to the schooling. Now that is very difficult because they have all these reasons which I've talked about. So maybe they don't want to come. But NIOS is one option. At least they will get class 10th and class 12th certificate. I mean, if they clear the exam. Because for employment opportunities, you see, these are required. So last year, only 20 something centers were there NIOS. So we went ahead and signed a MOU with NIOS. And now 50 plus centers are there and all districts are covered. So all 12 districts have a center of NIOS. So their enrollment I've seen is going up. At least they will have certificate. But this is of course, we want them to mainstream. So we have a state level alternative schooling coordinator, and in every district there is one district coordinator under Samagra Shiksha. They keep on moving around and they identify these students. They do road shows and they collaborate with every community and all that and try to find out, and then they try to provide these kind of mainstream options. If they don't, then the other option is NIOS. Every year roughly we are maybe mainstreaming 1,000 around students. But as you see, 28% is the dropout rate in secondary. So the number must be like huge. But out of that, only 1,000 we are able to cater. So basically everyone has to come on board. The parents have to play a role, community has to play a role. They have to inform the system that these are the students not going to school, because for one district we have one district coordinator. How much he or she is going to cover, right? And the other problem of secondary school not being there, now Meghalaya has received sanction for 38 EMRS, Eklavya Model Residential School, and in fact this will go up. The plan is every block will have this EMRS. It is a residential school completely supported by Government of India. It will be a CBSE school.
The facilities in these schools are much better, and these are all residential schools, as you said.
Yeah, they will be exactly like JNV.
Personally feel big solution to the dropout rate is where you said the third most interesting thing is they don't find the connect, they don't find school interesting. And that is where we need to, harp on the teaching quality in the classroom. Whether teachers are being able to light up their eyes and bring them, attract them to the classroom, show them dreams about the future, whether the teachers have these skills. And unless we are able to do that, I don't think teaching, whether it is in the urban areas or in the rural areas, is really happening in the way it is supposed to be happening. Mark, I want to come to you. NEP for the first time has underlined the importance of soft skills, and you have been a pioneer in the Northeast on imparting training on soft skills. Tell our listeners why soft skills are important and what is the status of the level of soft skills among the youth of Meghalaya and what interventions could be done.
Rahul, we've often spoken between you and I about interventions that allow young people to truly take the value of education into life.
That's right.
And I think all of us sitting here are aware that an education must prepare you for life.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there are pockets where education just isn't enough to pull you out of the bubble that we're in of unemployability. And that is where soft skills are so very critical. Not just for our students, but for our teachers as well. Earlier in this conversation, you mentioned how it is so important to facilitate learning in environments that promote enthusiasm. Curiosity is a word I'd use.
Absolutely.
And that would be the fundamental soft skill that must be not taught, but must be gleaned from your teachers. Does a teacher allow you to feel curious about a subject? And the basic soft skill in life that we must all pick up is learning how to learn.
And lifelong learning.
This goes on for life.
Yeah.
When we served in the adult literacy vertical for the India at 75 Foundation, one of the greatest lessons learned was how there is this piqued curiosity in adulthood to actually pick up skills that make you more employable. And the sad part of it is, especially in our underserved communities and regional blocks of tribal youth, most schools will provide you with the syllabus and the teachers are committed and doing an outstanding job to cover the curriculum and get them ready for the boards. However, there has to be something more, and we're so happy for those of us in the development sector for non-formal education rather, an education policy that focuses on social development, cognitive development, and the all-round holistic approach used in education to again prepare you for life. Why are soft skills important? They are the foundational skills you need to operate in any career, no matter where you go in life. They involve things as simple as what our students can do so rarely. Look at you in the eye and tell you their names. That basic sense of self-worth and confidence is missing in our boys and girls. The urban-rural divide with soft skills is even deeper.
Even more, yes.
Because in our urban schools, our teachers are so much more connected to the realities of what the world will need. And the families ensure that there's a certain level of education at home that instills confidence. This is not true across the state and is not true in all of our districts, especially when you bring it down to the blocks. What can be done and what are the core skills that we're looking at? I'll name the top 5 right now. The first is, of course, being able to pick up a skill because you know how to learn. So the ability to learn is one important skill.
Right.
The second is the ability to feel strongly about who you are, your place in the world, and your sense of identity. That feeds into that big word we call confidence. The third is being able to manage your emotions. The emotions that provoke students to then do something negative, destructive, and not build into their constructive narrative as they head into life. And this will occur down the line in careers as well. So emotions. Fourth is being able to communicate in a language that allows them to be employable. Right now in our country, it's Hindi or English or other languages that are regional that have an employment base. In a small state like ours, the only chance we get at success is being able to plug into the national employment framework. And that would mean either Hindi or, if you're looking at the service sector, English. Communication skills in English is a golden ticket for a lot of students to be employable. Fifth, and I think so important, is learning to think through a problem and arrive at a solution. We call it critical thinking. And there are many ways this can be done. Science, technology, engineering, math, that whole area also now brings in arts, STEAM,
Right.
is huge in the developed world because we understand that everything is interconnected. And it's the job of our teachers to ensure that they have the soft skills they need to interconnect these subjects. So when a student leaves school, he or she would understand that you have your core soft skills, but they're all driving you towards solving problems in the real world.
True.
Employability and the level of employment and the level of income is directly proportional to your ability to solve a problem for your employer, for your state, and for your country.
Absolutely.
You asked what's going on currently in soft skills and what could be done. I'm very happy to tell you that the government of Meghalaya has already taken some very critical steps to institutionalize, in a way, soft skills for adolescent youth in government government-run institutions, and we're very happy to play a role in that. It's a very special program called Spark, School Programs in Articulation, Resilience, and Kindness. And this is actually, the vision for this was set by the gentleman to my right, Mr. Swapnil Tembe, whose vision it was to ensure that our youth have access to these core soft skills. This is already happening. We have already covered a significant number of students in the state, and all government schools in all districts, in most blocks, have already been covered under the program, and we're looking forward to more great things. Apart from that, there are alliances nationally that are creating frameworks of reference for life coaching and life skills. The government of Meghalaya is already putting in place a much larger platform called Empower, which will empower the aspirations and the well-being and the emotional social learning of adolescent youths. So it is a long way down the line, but the initial steps to build those foundational capacities are already being taken.
So is channelizing that entire energy into doing something creative, is that also being looked at?
It's a very dangerous premise for us to believe that young people are angry. If you walk into the rural areas and the rural schools, it isn't a sense of anger that pervades youth. It is a sense of despondency, a sense of a lack of aspiration. And when those two gaps are fundamentally plugged because you're taught that your life can be so much more than what you've been shown so far, then the emotions are very different. It isn't anger, then it is aspiration, a need for more. Then it is a willingness to explore. Then it becomes a willingness to engage and indulge in interpersonal skill building. But for that, again, the system and the environment has to support that. Currently, the soft skills frameworks that are adhered to world over have to incorporate a very critical element of emotional management. It allows a young person to identify and label. You know, Rahul, it's so strange that we don't actually have words to describe our feelings in our local languages. Just having a taxonomy that describes how you feel is a very powerful tool.
Absolutely.
So when you say anger, it's not really anger, it's a shade of anger.
It's angst, maybe.
Perhaps angst or anxiety. When you say depression, you can't use it for every single thing. First of all, you've got to diagnose it correctly, and you have to be authoritative and qualified to say that statement. So the names we use, the labels we use, the words we choose to describe our emotions are taught through soft skills programs like Spark and others. And the importance of this is youth can finally say, this is why I'm feeling this way. And if the facilitators are good, they're doing one other really good thing in the classroom. They're also counseling.
I'm so happy that you said that it is not anger and rather more despondency than anything else, particularly in the rural
anger
areas.
arrives as a result of a bottleneck that's created from two very important factors. One is having an education and not having the ability to be employed. The second is having had the education, having been employed, and choosing to come home and not having anything to do with those skills.
Right.
These lead to anger, amongst other things.
Okay, so I'll come back to you. There is a famous quote about how to destroy a nation, and in brief what it says is, collapsing any nation does not require the use of atom bombs or the use of long-range missiles, but it requires lowering the quality of education. The collapse of education is the collapse of the nation. The class 10 results have consistently been a cause for worry, with the pass percentage hovering around 52-53%. Do you think it speaks volumes on the quality of education being imparted, and what steps are being taken to improve the quality of education?
Yes, and especially there's a lot of spatial variation if you see. I mean, regional variation.
Absolutely.
That one part of the state has maybe 30% and the other
Even
is
25%.
So there were reasons actually for that, why that happened in North Garo Hills. So, I mean, the one major reason is the foundation, basically. So when we usually talk with secondary teachers, so they said the students which are coming from UP, they are not having the, the basic foundations. When we talk to UP school teachers, they said in LP they didn't learn anything. So when they joined class 6, they were not able to write their names. So how do we work on that? And then again, I mean, if we can go one step now because of NEP, now this pre-primary is also there. Anyway, one
But there is truth in this.
Yes.
Let's accept.
I was there in the field, the SDO as a DC for 5-6 years. And in my tenure, I've visited hundreds of schools. And I've seen that even class 5, they're not able to simple arithmetic. They're not able to say one sentence in English. So all these things are there. Yes. I mean, the foundation. So one of the major reasons, because you suddenly cannot change. Like if some batch is coming to your school, so in 2 years, a major transformation may not be happening when it comes to academics. In some qualities, you can maybe improve. So that is one of the fundamental reasons. So to address this, that's what I said. Like, in NEP, we have to start with the first one, which is pre-primary, because you must have seen those numbers. 0 to 8 years of age, brain develops 80%. Correct. 95%. Like
Correct.
0 to 5, 80%, 0 to 8 years, it's now already 95%. So what are we doing in that?
Even the language skill.
Language skills.
And we are not teaching them 3 languages at that age
Yes.
in NEP. I mean,
Yes. So the receptivity of children at that is like, they can really learn fast and a lot of languages simultaneously they can do that. But that's not being utilized that way. Foundation is one reason. Then of course, systemic problems is also there in rural and remote areas because of lack of monitoring. Of course, in a place like Shillong, we may not understand this, but whenever you get to villages, no teacher, they don't come regularly. And then our state, of course, has like a lot of natural calamities and we have a lot of floods, a lot of rainfall. Around 1,000 villages are there which are not, having proper road. There are 140 villages which are not even motorable. You have to walk. So challenges are there in the state. So this is also second reason. First is let's get the teachers and the school first. So with that vision only, this whole TIMS app and other monitoring, and we have been sending our officials for the last, so many months now, and we have seen little improvement. Now, if the teachers are there, now we will talk about quality of. So now whether the teachers are, up to the mark, that also is there. As per our record, 43% are still untrained teachers in our system. So when I say untrained, that means that professional qualification which is required for elementary DLED is required.
And no one is measuring passion.
Yes. So that is another thing. In fact, that is much more important,
Absolutely.
I feel. Yeah.
Just
If there's a
want to hear
passionate
that.
teacher without,
Without
that
qualification.
Also,
Without
why not?
professional, it works much better.
Yeah, it works. But obviously, so we are mandated because this is the Act, NCT. So we have to follow that, obviously. But this I have seen that. I just want to give one example. The new batches which are coming up in teachers, they are qualified, but also maybe having a lot of energy. So Dingling Government LP School, 3 years ago, the enrollment was 0. Of course, teachers were not there. But even after teachers came, maybe like 5-10 enrollment. So these were 3 young teachers of 21 batch. And they took it very seriously and passionately. They went to each and every house of that village, neighboring village. They, mobilized that now we are here. We will do everything. We will start PM Poshan scheme. We will get the building repaired. We will do this, that. We'll start a library because the school was also in a poor condition. So after that, like recently when I joined last, when we went there, it's 110 plus enrollment. So now it has taken from all the other schools and then they are doing a really great job. As you said, passion. So these 3 all were very passionate. Forget the qualification and everything, but they were passionate about improving. They wanted to improve and they didn't wait for any government intervention to come and all that. I mean, if that can motivate many others, and as I said, we have 55,000 teachers. So even if 1,000 teachers get that motivation.
NEP also has a provision to evaluate teachers every 5 years.
Right. Actually, for teacher education, there's supposed to be a board in here, but that role is being right now played by DART. But of course, as I said, they also have a challenge of capacity, how to do that. So basically, we are also making plans to start that. Of course, we have talking about assessment of students, but assessment of teachers also has to be there.
Yeah.
So that's a point well taken. And soon we will introduce one system wherein we can do that. But first, as I said, so the first is training of teachers, getting the right kind of teachers. So that recruitment.
That is even before that, recruitment, I say.
Recruitment,
In recruitment, passion must become a criteria.
Yes. Because I've seen if the teacher is passionate and the principal, especially I've seen recently by Everlasting Pingrove, he won the national award and he's the principal from Minkem Christian Higher Secondary School from Boirembong. If a principal is having that kind of passion, everything falls in place. I mean, they can come up with resources. So that he mobilized resources in vocational for out of school children, for his football team, from so many resources.
Absolutely.
If you have that kind of
The leadership is good, everything falls in place and things
Right.
move much faster. But even when leadership is bad, individual teachers can excel.
So same, as I said, principals and teachers, if we do the right recruitment, it'll help. So coming back to this pass percentage, now this is one, as I said, like one is basically the foundation. So we have to start working on that. So there are a lot of steps being done now to focus on pre-primary education. Now we have launched something called Vidya Pravesh. As I said, some of the students are coming straight from Anganwadi to the schooling system. They have no experience in basics of learning. So for them, 3-month module, we have trained all the LP school teachers and it's called Vidya Pravesh. So they will be more adept and capable of now handling these students coming from Anganwadi. Now we have to ensure first regularity of teachers, that we are taking several actions. We have a command and control center in VSK, which is the Vidya Samiksha Kendra. TIMS app we have introduced. We are pushing more and more out of our staff to go BRP, CRPs and check and report to us. So that kind of accountability is there. Then the third is training these teachers, as I said. So we have to plan if we can do it physically or online, whatever, we have to train these teachers. And fourth is the recruitment of the right teachers. So for all this, and in education, we have to understand there are no low hanging fruits. It'll take time.
Yeah.
So people have to understand. You cannot expect results in like 1 year, 2 2-year. We have to make a 5-year plan, 10-year plan.
You could have a faster
Yeah.
results. Recruit teachers with passion across the state. You would see results very soon. It will be transformational. You have a point.
Just on that note, I just want to say, from a personal perspective as well, it just takes one.
Absolutely.
One powerful
Yeah,
teacher who can
absolutely.
change your life. It's our teachers who are at the heart of that movement of transforming your life and making you capable. I have had a teacher who's looked at me in the eye and made me feel like I could do anything. That
That's
sort of passion.
Exactly.
I completely
That's what I'm
agree.
talking
I
about.
completely agree with Mr. Tembe. That kind of passion is what will drive our teaching community to do great things for our students.
Yeah.
That's going to change our country.
That can only happen at the recruitment level.
Well, gentlemen, I'm of the opinion that maybe there is a way that existing teachers can light that spark in their souls, in their hearts.
I hope there is. Let me bring you to another point. This has also disturbed me a lot. Do you think the introduction of 30 marks of MCQ is the right way forward?
Now, there's different ways to do that. Pick up the basics, draw these questions from that. But if you look at all the kind of competitive exams which are there, they are based on MCQs. And I have been here for the last 8 years, and I've been interacting with youth a lot through career counseling and all that. And I've seen the results we have analyzed. And why are our children not performing in competitive exams? So one is that, they are not familiar with these kind of patterns. They don't know how to analyze. And MCQs can be different. One can be straight MCQs and one can be very conceptual. So if you take the example of UPSC, earlier it used to be very objective and very data oriented, that you mug it up and do it. But now if you see MCQ, they are so conceptual. All the permutations looks correct.
Possible. Yeah.
So there's a lot of analysis. So,
agree with you.
The idea is to get them ready for future exams. Also ensuring the right kind of knowledge is tested, not rote learning, but conceptual understanding. So that I'm sure the question papers will apply their logic while setting these questions.
But the concern has been that suppose there are 100 questions available now. You just have to give them 30. Then it's just rote learning. It is going to be from these 100. And in that case, just rote learning.
So that's
the existing question paper, let's say in science. The complaint has been that more than 80% of the questions are knowledge level questions. Who, why, when, etc. How. That's it. No understanding. Numerical problems are as good as non-existent in the science question paper. Now with 30 marks of MCQs, and we're going to have a deluge of students who will want to take science.
As I said, when the questions are prepared, you have to apply all these kind of logic and ensure that these are conceptual questions. Maybe you are referring to the sample papers which have been released. Maybe they
that is
do
exactly
not.
what
Yes.
teachers are talking about.
And that's also feedback coming, and we have communicated also to MBOs. And of course, they can always rework, so they can come up with more appropriate sample papers in the future. But the idea of introduction is not to just promote rote learning. As I said, they have to structure it rightly. So if it is not done in the first set of sample papers, maybe they can reiterate, they can go back to the drawing board and come up with another sample paper.
Mark, I want to come to you. You've been dealing with the youth of Meghalaya for a very long time, and I'm sure over time you have been able to make your own assessment of what is wrong, particularly in Meghalaya. What is your view? Why are we at the bottom of PGI index?
That the statement, where has Meghalaya gone wrong, is in itself a very loaded statement and not something that I would entirely embrace as being true. I think that there are very well-intentioned individuals at every level in governance and in policy setting that have set in milestones that are important for where we are as a state now, 52 years hence. There was a very interesting survey that was conducted marking 50 years of statehood for Meghalaya, about 65,000 youth odd across 300 plus campuses. And the insights from that Meghalaya Youth Survey of 2022, very revealing. What's the top 5 things that you'd say they're disappointed with? The number one thing on that list was teaching systems. If you're talking about just plain facts, that survey is a very critical piece of information. The lack of sporting facilities. Number 3 was overall just the lack of availability of employability options, which is something that we've had to counter with for a very long time. Clean bathrooms figured in the list. So these are fundamentals that maybe 2-3 years ago were already being addressed, and now we can see that they have improved. But what concerns me is the statement that we are at the bottom of indexes. I think number one, indices are made at a certain date representing a certain status that doesn't represent the actual reality on the ground today. There are many things that are evolving as we go along. I would not subscribe to the notion that we're at the bottom of too many things. A lot of work is going on. A lot of work is happening right now. But let's look at that whole scenario, the narrative of youth. Where are we going? What are we going to do with our futures? And why do we need to do it? If our young people are not asking ourselves these questions today, then our state has a very bleak future. So this is a very wide topic, Rahul. But I'm going to talk about just one thing in the interest of time. And that is, how do we get, because it is in our best interest to get to that dream. So instead of talking about what's pulling us down, let's talk about what can pull us forward.
Absolutely.
And I'd say the one thing that would pull us all forward is what certain people in this room as well do very well: career counseling. If the career counseling framework of the state is such that it lightens up the room and creates a perception of hope and aspiration that is missing in schools right now, that becomes a very powerful tool for transformation, because now you can see a road forward that you hadn't seen before. Number 2, strengthening basic employability skills in schools. That is already happening through soft skills and other frameworks that are coming out and being developed within the state. Number 3 is being very clear that you need to generate a group of people who are part of the solution and not seeking problems. And I'd rather our youth grow up in the second bucket. For that, design thinking is the way of the future.
Absolutely.
I'd like to look at just these 3 things. But underlying all of that, the one thing that will pull us all forward is being able to understand that that urban-rural divide will only close when our students have 3 clear things: their comprehension of what they're being told and what's being said, their ability to communicate, and of course, the ability to just have plain old-fashioned courage to make brave choices that nobody else would. It's hard because it's intangible. You can't measure these skills. But there are ways in which frameworks are created to find the tangibles within these intangibles and measure them through observation. And teachers are a very big part of that. It all comes down to our teachers.
True. Thank you so much. We have to close on that positive note. But I'm sure listeners would, have discussions in their own homes over tea time when listening to this. Thank you very much for coming to our studios and having this discussion and what the youth can aspire for in future in Meghalaya. Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on how education can empower people, foster personal growth, and drive societal development. The participants were Shri Swapnil Tembe IAS, Director of School Education and Literacy, Additional Secretary to the Government of Meghalaya, and Special Project Director SSA, and Shri Mark Laitflang, Director and Founder of Avenues. The moderator of the discussion was Shri Rahul Chatterjee. This program was brought on the occasion of the National Education Day celebrated today. This program came to you from Akashwani, Shillong.
Good morning, listeners. This is Akashvani Shillong, broadcasting on FM 103.6 MHz and on 347.2 meters in the medium wave, corresponding to 864 kilohertz, and live streaming News on Air app. Well, friends, it's time for Text Your Requests, a request program of Western music. So, friends, let me give you the number that you can send your messages to. It's 94851 02311. I repeat, 94851 02311. So I welcome you all to text your requests. And once again, a very good morning to you all. So we're going to listen to one song right now. And after this, I will be right back and start reading your messages.
The locomotion, the locomotion. Everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, to the locomotion. I know you'll get to like it if you give it a chance now.
Peace up, A-Town down. Yeah, okay.
All right, so that's Kylie Minogue there in that song called The Locomotion. All right, so friends, yes, time for me to start reading your messages. Here is the first one that I received this morning. It says, Sobha pentem jingrai on the floor, ban pensngap sobha kerpang ya pi bat dipika, ya isam, ya ikong di susngi kublai. Okay. Di ini ide Iwan Bianglin, top Iwan Bianglin, kublai shubo ni katuka ka dedication ke jong pi, dengan sepentem katuka jingrai ke ba pi pan. Ini baby yang kumno nginyepet. All right, so this one says, I am Yeju. Can you please play for me the song Yet to Come by BTS? I want to dedicate this first and foremost to you, to my friend Lisa, and to all the listeners who are tuning into this program. Have a wonderful day ahead. All right, so thank you so much. Make sure you have a wonderful day too. All right, so we'll play that song for you, okay? And I have another one here that says, please play for me any song by Shania Twain from this moment. Any song by Shania. I think you have requested for From This Moment by Shania Twain, all right? And the message also says, this song goes first to you. And then Rudolph, Ba Marwen, Ba Nabhoy, Ba Linkhoy, Ba Josh, Nathan, Ba Red, Kong Sit, Sam, Suba, Deepika, Kong Na, Kong Rintong, Ribha, Kong Disusni, and all my dear friends. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm Glotilda Kurba. All right, so we'll play that song for you, Glotilda. Yes, it's From This Moment by Shania Twain. And another one, this says, I am Suba. Please play for me the song Complicated Heart by MLTR. It goes to you and to all my friends, especially Ba Sam, Ba Deng Umden, Ba Josh, Ba Shut Up. Thank you. All right. So we have 4 songs now. All right. So we're going to stop here for now, my dear friends. But of course, after these songs, I will be right back and read more of your messages. Just to remind you once again, the number is 94851 02311. Palong ngap. Number 1 pai ki message ki jong piu de kandai sa prasan iwe not our lie iwe kane ke take a text your request ka bwan chipi na ka Akashvani Shillong.
J-Lo, ya tú sabes, no hay más nada.
It's a new generation
Mr. Worldwide,
of party people.
get on the floor, darling, get on the red wine.
Let me introduce you to my party people in the club.
I'm loose, and everybody knows I get off the train. Baby, it's the truth. I'm like Inception, I play with your brains, I don't sleep or snooze. I don't play no games, so don't get it confused, no. Cause you will lose, yeah. Now pump it up and back it up like a Tonka truck. Darling.
If you go hard, you gotta get on the floor. If you're a party freak, then step on the floor. If you're an animal, then tear up the floor. Break a sweat on the floor, yeah, we work on the floor. Don't stop, keep it moving, put your drinks up. Pick your body up and drop it on the floor. Let the rhythm change your world on the floor. You know we're running shit tonight on the floor.
We're saying
to Africa.